One of our top stories tonight, the President has signed the National Minimum Wage Bill into law. The South African Federation of Trade Unions General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi joins us now to give us his reaction to it. Now that it's finally been signed, and of course it comes with three other bills that have been consolidated today, what's your sense?
Obviously, we are not happy. We are disappointed that both Parliament and now the President simply ignored a demonstration of hundreds and thousands, if not millions of workers on the 25th of April who took to the streets to voice their total rejection of what we can only regard as an entrenchment of the apartheid wage structure, the apartheid wage gap, the poverty wages that were designed by the colonial economy. As you will know, Kathy, what we are trying to do in South Africa, which we have not done for the past 24 years and 25 years next year, is that we're trying to undo the colonial system in South Africa.
And why do you not see it as a step forward in your view?
It will never be the next step. There is no next step. I mean, anybody sensitive who was to succeed to tell us to see this as a first step would have already adjusted that 20 rand an hour in the light of the fact that since May, we've seen an increase of VAT by 7%. We have seen an increase of the sin taxes, so-called, which are consumed more by the workers and the poor, of between 6 and 10%. We have seen a record-breaking fuel prices that have now reached 17 rands a litre of petrol. We have seen an increase just yesterday of a 25 basic point for interest rates. All of those things combine to wipe that 20 rand off the table altogether. And so we're going to this...
And to the extent that, of course, the proponents of the minimum wage bill will say that what this bill does is that it guarantees at least 20 rand for those who before may have been abused and, frankly, offered way less than that.
These people have very, very small ambitions. We have ambitions that are consistent with the struggles that we waged, and these struggles are hundreds of years old. This is a struggle to liberate black people in general. This is the struggle to liberate black workers from the colonial and apartheid wages. This ought to be a struggle to ensure that women are not trapped into a situation where they're in the bottom of the ladder as the worst wage earners in the economy. This should be a struggle to close the massive wage gaps that exist, reflecting the colonial and apartheid history in South Africa. This step, so-called brilliant step, says nothing about the fact that the first 100 companies in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange are rewarding their CEOs over 17 million rands. It says nothing about another study by Deloitte that says that the average salary of some of these guys in the top ranges of the market of the white monopoly capital is somewhere at around 23 million rands a year. We're saying nothing about that. There's no talk about cap. There's no talk about wealth tax. There's no talk about anything. There's a talk of introducing.
What about those workers then who are not necessarily employed by these companies that are JSE listed, who are employed by ordinary men and women? We had a conversation earlier on tonight on Newsnight about the implications that this has for people such as your domestic workers that many households would employ to assist them in the house. You don't think that this is a progressive step even for them?
No, you know, there is a different regimes already in this thing that is being rammed down the throats of our people. The domestic workers are supposed to be getting 15 rands an hour, which will be way below 30 or 3,000 rands. Yeah. And the farm workers will just get way below that 20 rands themselves, the 16 going to 18 rands. and the extended public works workers will be getting 11 rand. Just imagine. The question that we should answer is not all of these sophistications, is why is South Africa, that was involved in this protracted struggle to liberate black workers from the yoke of super exploitation, talking about a situation where over 6 million people are still earning below 20 rands an hour. And why have we not addressed that and we still call that a freedom? It's a freedom for who? Because totally, this is the freedom for the CEOs, this is a freedom for the shareholders of the companies listed in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The freedom for workers is clearly delayed and is not on the table for now, and that's why we are calling on workers as they go into a break. Mobilize your rural areas, mobilize other community organizations, the rest of the working class. Next year, we're going to launch a real total fight of all organs of the working class in this country to take up the crisis of poverty in our society, the crisis of inequalities, the crisis of unemployment, the crisis of homelessness, of our dysfunctional education system, of our dysfunctional healthcare, our landlessness, our propertyless, on the fact that we have now become the most unequal society in the world. We want to take up that battle next year, and we will be targeting the budget speech of the new minister. We want to call for a total shutdown of the economy, to say, but the poor are being left way behind. Whilst everybody is celebrating progress, whilst the few can still go to the Black Friday and buy things for their children, but 9.8 million South Africans are unemployed, 12 million go to bed every night without anything to eat. We've just had enough of these inequalities, and it is now time for the workers of this country to mobilize and say enough is enough.
All right, and Ntate Vavi, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. Unfortunately, we've run out of time.